most of my work's designed to be viewed at a large scale.
Yep.
So when you look at it on a screen, it's okay. But when it's 50 inches wide, it's a totally different
Oh, yeah. It's
experience. So.
All right, so I'm excited to have Sean here today. He combed his hair. He's looking good. Always camera ready.
Always.
Thanks for coming by, Sean. Was hoping we could talk today about what your thoughts are on the show because, I think you're well aware. I value your opinion as, kind of an expert in the field of photography.
Thank you.
You think you're probably qualified, right?
A little bit.
Was hoping we could cover a little bit about the jurying of shows by, in person versus digital. I know you've handled both of those.
Strong opinions on it.
Well, I could want to just jump right into that. Like, I know that you've done both. Probably in the in the works, have a couple in the works as it is.
Yep.
What do you think? From
personally, I like in person.
Yep.
Because artwork is supposed to be seen as like a finished product, and when you're trying to do it online, it's not done.
Yeah. I have a strong opinion too. I like in person better, basically because. Selfishly, then everything has to be presented nicely.
It all has to be presented nicely. The image quality that's given to you can look different on a screen versus in person. Or if they're trying to print something that shouldn't be that big, bigger than it needs to be, or something that should be printed bigger, a lot smaller than it should be. But the framing and the presentation can also change the way something looks and take away from the overall presentation of the work.
Yeah,
so
the scale is a big one to me. It's like, how do you know what you're looking at? Are they usually listed when you're viewing files, like some details of the work?
There are details of the work, depending on how much you look at, how much work there is to look at when you're jurying it online.
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not pay attention to the little thing in the corner that says, "Oh, this is going to be a 13 by 19."
Yep.
But also the artist's ability to figure out a proper size is always a fun one. That's usually on, like me and you. When it comes down to the end of it, they don't know ratios or sizes as well as someone who deals with it every day. Yeah,
Ratios and sizes are complicated for people to understand. Apparently, I think we need to cover that at some point and get maybe we'll get Tara on camera, have her jump in and be a celebrity as well. But I've seen people have brought things in before and like, oh, I got this into a show. And they've asked, what size do you think I should print it? And it's, you didn't have to mention that, that this was an 8 by 10 or a 30 by 40. It seems distinctly different.
Most of the shows will tell you like a maximum size you can do because, there's a finite amount of space on the wall. But I don't remember if I know Duxbury, it had to fit in the elevator.
Yep.
That was about
that's the size.
That was like their requirement. And I would think that a lot of people would have an idea before they even enter it.
Yep.
But not necessarily.
Yep.
But I like bigger anyway, usually.
Yep. Yeah, I like both. Bigger always also gets more expensive, but I just the idea of something not getting the full presentation, like, so if you're just seeing like a digital file of a photograph someone's going to enter and then they frame it completely wrong, it's going to look,
Yeah, so usually like what you'll do is the initial like weed out of all the entries would be done online.
Yep.
And then you get down to the number that they need for a show, whether it be like 150 or 200 images, and then you go through 1,000 and pick out the 200, and then you don't do any final judging of the show until it's actually hung and you go and see it in person.
Yeah, awards given in person.
Yep.
I think that's probably a good...
It's a good middle of the road.
Yeah. You probably like to throw some things out, right? Once you see them in person.
Oh yeah, always. And I mean, selfishly, and you probably feel it too, that when they would have to have everything done to submit it to a show, it was always nice because
Yep.
there'd be a show, we'd get a big increase in business,
Yep.
no matter what. But
Yeah, I mean that is nice. I mean, I also feel that I've found that people get things into the show and they're willing to spend a little more because they
yeah,
they,
nicer
they know
presentation, and there's
it's not like a gamble. You're not spending a couple $100 on something and maybe you get it in. It's a sure thing.
right, and it's one of the things with like a lot of the stuff that I display or have like put up in shows and things like that. Most of my work's designed to be viewed at a large scale.
Yep.
So when you look at it on a screen, it's okay. But when it's 50 inches wide, it's a totally different
Oh yeah, it's
experience. So I don't know if that would. Most of my work's good enough that it would still translate on a screen anyway.
Yeah.
But like the impact of the work is definitely not there. Sitting in an office looking at a computer monitor versus looking at it while it's hung and framed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at your car picture, like you see that on the screen, and then you see that at my house hanging, up over that walkway. I mean, that thing's impressive. I look at that and I'm like, Jesus. I mean, and I hung it and I'm like, wow, that's ridiculous.
Still don't know how you did it.
I do think the upside too, for the judging online though. I mean, it's nice to be able to get a judge. I mean, have you judged shows for like a different state because it's digital, right? So you don't have to fly out to California and judge a show,
right? And I've judged a lot of like online shows, which were like strictly online, especially over 2020. Everything was online, and they came up with these sort of reminded me like the old Doom video game when they would like make like a little virtual gallery that you'd like walk through. But
I think that's a nice addition to shows too. Like if you can't get to a show, being able to view it online is like it's not as good, but it's a nice like second option. I mean, I think that's part of what we're trying to do with, when I have Claude go out to like South Shore and we shoot that.
Yeah,
it's nice. I almost don't want to push out all the pictures so that people still have a reason to go view it because seeing things in person is so much better. But for some people that can't get there, it's a nice like
recap. You get to see what you missed. Or
yeah, maybe we should just wait to release that sort of thing till after.
Yeah, or you just like shoot out a teaser of it and like create some FOMO so people want to go see it. Yeah. But they're I don't remember.
Well, I mean, back on the judging and I think you also get people that are entering shows from a distance too. Right?
It does. It opens up like the entry panel to a lot more people,
which is great because then it brings in new artists. Kind of.
And it does like two things. So it'll get people who wouldn't necessarily enter a show to enter a show because now, you're on the hook for $20 or whatever the entry fee is, versus $150 plus to have something printed and framed.
Yeah, and then there's also that other piece too, and I've made that walk of shame plenty of times. You enter something into a show, you get rejected, and now you're going and you're picking it up. That's never a good feeling. I mean, although it is a feeling that anybody that enters shows, I think, needs to get used to, but.
Absolutely. And just because someone doesn't get into a show doesn't mean that their work's not good. One, it might not fit with the show that's being hung. Mm-hmm. It just might not be right for the time. And also, when you have a show that has 1, 2, or 3 judges, it's very subjective to what the people like.
Yeah, and what they agree on liking, right?
Right. And I can tell from like the last one I did, like me and the judge had a couple that we definitely didn't agree on, but it doesn't mean anything overall. Like it doesn't mean that he's not good at picking out artwork, nor does it mean that I'm not good at picking out artwork. It's just we have different tastes. The other like the nice part with having like such a vast like reach when you do them online too is you get such a like broad spectrum of images to go through to actually be able to curate a show. And I think there's a lot of judges who will like judge work that comes in, but it's kind of twofold because as you're picking them out, you're also curating the show that people are going to see.
Yep.
So you don't necessarily want to just pick what's good and awesome. Like, of course, you want to pick what's good and awesome, but you want what's good and awesome that'll all work together to make for like a pleasing experience when you go see the show.
Yeah. Oh, I know from experience of hanging shows, it's, you know, it's challenging. You know, you're like, when there's like, well, this is a good piece, but it doesn't look anything like anything else. So
Right.
now where are we going to put it? You know, if you had a show that was all one subject matter, it's easy, right? Because
Right.
then all of a sudden, you know, it all flows together. You know, there's that continuity, but you know, sometimes you're like, well, geez, I wish this thing had a black frame on it instead of this gold one because it would fit perfectly with those other three pieces.
Yeah, and the hard part with like shows with no requirements, whether it be your images or your context or your framing or any of that, is will it all look good together? And when you're leaving the presentation of the work up to the artist completely, you know, you can get stuff that's framed beautifully that comes in, and then you got the guy that ran to Michael's.
Mm-hmm. The botanical societies have you know, they have like strict, you know,
We do the garden club, yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's 8x12 on black foam core. 'Cause
Yep.
that's how they hang it, you know.
yeah, the botanical artists, they have, you know, natural frame, white mat. I
Yep.
think maybe they have a little discretion on the size on that, but like I mean, but it's a great idea because all of a sudden the work can be very different, but the frames are the same, so there's going to be a flow to the show.
Yep.
Um,
And I'm sort of a traditionalist in the framing of like black frame, white mat.
yeah,
Keeps it easy. And it keeps like a very classic look, but it's also a look that is sellable.
Yep.
If you're selling work at a show, you know, a black frame will go in anybody's house.
yep,
Most of the time. I say that as every frame in my house is white, but
yeah. No, I think it does a lot of times. I mean, that's also like another tricky subject too. You know, how do you present your work? I think a lot of people sometimes, just from conversation I have with people as a framer, they buy a piece of artwork and they don't even think about the fact that they can just change the frame, or they don't want to invest that much more if it's an expensive piece of artwork.
right. And sometimes you do get people that change frames, though.
No, some
that's
people
like
do, but sometimes people think about they overthink it. I buy frames, you know, buy artwork, and generally, if I didn't frame it, I want to put my stamp on it before I put it in my house. So
Right.
I'm always reframing stuff. I have access to that sort of thing, so it's easy for me. But
We still have to reframe my Calder painting.
yeah,
But like, and then you can always reframe artwork. So the balance of like how much you want to invest in the framing when you put it into a show to sell is always a tricky one too.
it is.
Because you want it to look the best, and usually the best gets expensive. Then you got to sell it for more, and then you got to hope someone likes it enough to buy it, and has a place to put it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that makes the size interesting. I do also think though, if you buy a piece of the show and you flip it over and it's, you know, like it's important for the artist to show that they're confident in their work and that, you know, they're invested in it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like if people get their prints printed on, you could do like a regular luster paper. It looks great, feels great. But if you hand somebody a print on like luster paper, like if you sell just the print, you know, it feels like a photograph versus if you go to one of like the fine art rag papers, like a hot press with like a 300 GSM, like nice thick paper, and you hand it to somebody, it feels not like a photograph, but like a piece of art. And that can translate into the framing. If you spend $400 on like a painting, a photograph, anything like that, and you take it off the wall and it's in like a Michaels frame that's like
Yeah,
chopped
falling
together.
apart
It's
plastic.
like,
Yeah, you don't, if you bought that, would you feel good about it? I gave a talk at North River, and this was a subject I really tried to hammer home. It's you got to show that you're invested in your work, and if you don't, when someone gets something, if I buy one of your photographs, I'm buying the photograph, but your confidence in it, that you've spent some money to frame it, that you're presenting it properly. I mean, when someone buys that at a show, like, you want it to be finished on the back. You want it, I've seen things with like the painter's tape holding it in.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, what does someone think? Like, this is how something should be framed? Like, they almost are going to feel like they were, ripped off a little bit.
right. And I think
And that's not a good
there's-
feeling as
there is a balance that artists need to have, unless they have like unlimited resources and deep pockets. Like one of the guys I work with, we reuse a lot of frames, so we
Yep.
use a lot of Nielsen ones
Yep.
because they're and when they get banged up, we throw them out. Like
Well, those ones are, I mean,
But they're-
those ones present nicely.
they're great for gallery artists who
Black market
wanna,
goes a lot of way too.
yeah, who want to like reuse stuff, and like they're by no means a cheap frame.
Nope.
It's going to be more money than going to Michaels, and if you go to like a 117 profile, you're spending as much as you would on like a really nice wooden Larson jewel.
Yep.
But they can take a hit. You can take them apart. You can put new stuff in them pretty easily, and get 3 or 4 shows out of them and still have them be looking good.
Yeah, and then you have a continuity too, right? That
Yep.
if you're showing like 10 pieces at a time,
They're very easy to make look
Yeah.
the same. Their hanging system makes it very easy to make it level if you're the one responsible for hanging it. But having like a continuity like that is always nice, and having the ability to flip stuff is nice for the artist, especially if they're showing a lot. If their work is going to be sold, it's usually, in my opinion, good to move to like a wood frame or something that can be like nicely backed
Yep.
and not easily taken apart unless that's what you want.
Yeah. But even when you take them apart, you want it to look,
Right.
if you're setting up the work to be, you're just using a frame for presentation and you're selling the artwork, and the frame's just a placeholder. When it's going to be taken apart, so you want it to look good when it's taken apart. The
Yep.
paper is probably very important that you're using in that case. I don't know. I have strong feelings about that, and I think that if you're framing something, you'd want it to look like if you were buying something, what you'd be getting, right?
Right. Yeah. Especially if it's something that's on display for sale, absolutely. Some of the stuff in my office, I just throw tabs in the back and hang
Yes.
it up just because it looks good on the wall.
Yep. But if you were to sell one of those, you'd probably
Take it down and
class it up.
refinish it. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
want you don't want your patron or whoever's buying that piece to
Flip it over and go, oh, what is this hack job?
yeah
But like,
holding it in with bubble gum. Yeah.
right. So yeah, when you take it down to like actually sell it, you would, like clean out the inside, do dust covers and everything else
Yeah.
to like give a good presentation, a good like finished presentation.
Well, I've told this to a couple of different artists too that I do work for. It's like when that frame is finished and I stick my sticker on the back, like that almost like takes it off of your plate. If somebody's got an issue with the framing, they can,
Yep.
they know right where to bring it.
And fortunately, you have a good business that's around.
Yep.
Me and you both reframe stuff that comes from other places that
No.
never heard of or no idea, like, like how long ago did they go out of business? I want to match this frame. Well, it was discontinued 15 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then the other thing too is like people trying to save a couple bucks and not, in doing things themselves, which I'm 100% for. And we're gonna continue with video series to try to make that easier for people. Because if someone wants to buy a frame from me, or just buy a print from you, like, that's still profit. That's still something that we want to do. Make it easier for them to present it, right? You want to just buy an empty frame and flip it out on a regular basis. That's cool, but follow these instructions on how you do it, because it's going to be a lot. It's going to look nicer. And then when you tell someone you bought the frame from me, it actually still looks good.
Well, and I don't think I send a lot of people over here for like the gold mine of ready-made frames upstairs. Yep. If they want to do something on their own, you have a lot of nice moldings that are either leftovers and chopped down, or a few that you use specifically for ready-mades.
Yep.
Which are going to be either cheaper or on par with something you'd buy from like Michael's or AC Moore, and 10 times nicer.
I think they're nicer, but at the same time, when someone buys one of those, I get it from the Frame Center, and then somebody realized the difference, and those ones are priced to sell, and they're great value. But if somebody slaps it together and they get their handprints all over the glass,
that's the hard
disclaimer, part. Right? But that's why I want.
That's why you don't give out your sticker with it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I want people that buy those frames to also have a video and an explanation on how to put it together properly, so that when it's done, it's at a higher level. It's not just slapped together. I don't want people to make the mistakes of, one wire here, one wire there, or not cleaning the glass, not cleaning the glass,
yep.
Not handling it properly, putting a screw through the side or something.
Hey, I've done that.
It happens, but trying to help people to not make those mistakes, I think, is important. We'll get into it too, because I still want to record videos with you about, understanding resolution, understanding how to, what you can blow pictures up to, you can't take this iPhone picture and turn it into a 30 by 40.
Some of them you can now.
You can. That keep getting better.
As long as you get the newest iPhone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, presentation's huge. The materials you use are important. And then, the last, like, factor in all of it is the space that they're hanging.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the place where you're hanging them is a nice place to hang them.
That's another series that I think I need to get into too. Just like almost offering some design advice on how things go. I mean, I got to put up your gallery wall yesterday that you'd helped design.
Yep. How's my little template? Did it work?
It worked. There was I have it with sizes. There was one thing that I think it could have gone a little smaller, but I still think it came out great.
I didn't take the initial measurements.
But no, I think it looks good. Hopefully we'll get some pictures of that too, because I think we already started a video on how to do gallery walls and just giving people ideas.
Yep.
I think that's and making it easy, because people need things to be easy.
Yep. Again, like those frames that we did are for that gallery wall are nice. They're open back, so they can be switched out because kids grow up.
Yep.
Life keeps moving, even though the wall usually stays the same. But
to
make it a little easier to switch out, always better.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think life changes, and then those gallery walls, it's like you can update them, and you obviously, like, you got a wedding picture, you want that. That's like a moment that you're gonna carry forward for forever, hopefully. And then so that one stays. Maybe some extra ones from the wedding get flipped out, and you get one kid, second kid, vacation, something like that, and then you can kind of keep it consistent. Gallery walls, I think, are it's a nice look, and it also is buy a bunch of frames, buy a bunch of prints. It's good for everyone.
They're always good. But when it comes to like setting up a space, you do like you get to play around with different ideas too because you have your gallery here.
Yep.
So you can see like how things are going to work, or like if a certain like wall color or design, or like how clean do you want the room to be overall with like clutter or stools or chairs or desks, or because some places feel a little tight.
Yep.
You know, some are nice and open. You have like crazy modern art galleries in New York that's like a white wall with one picture in it, but the wall's 45 feet long.
Yeah. Those are statements I'm still learning to understand, but
you know, like up here, like the shows that you've hung up here have come out very nice.
yeah.
It's a good place to gather.
It is. I mean, I think it's also like I know that we had your works up here before.
Yep.
We've had a number of different artists. I have the current show, the Autism Awareness Show, and Autism Acceptance Show, I think is what we're going with. Your thoughts on that? Do you like how that came out?
The show looks great. The premise is awesome, and being able to help, you know, raise awareness or acceptance, or just to bring attention to the cause
Yep.
is very important. And I think what she's doing to, because all these pictures are going to the families afterwards.
Yeah, that was a big part of it when we came up with the idea. It was like, I'll donate the frames, we'll give them to the people.
You know, and I've done senior portraits and family portraits for families who have like kids with autism and things like that, and it's not always easy to get a good picture. So being able to have work done by a good photographer who has actually like captured these kids like in their elements and things like that for the family is huge.
Have you met Caitlin before?
I think so.
I
think I met her
I think her
the night that
personality
you were
is
here.
perfect for shooting. I mean, obviously she has a son that has autism, so she understands how to. But just her personality and knowing her, she's very easy to feel comfortable around. You
Right.
know? And I mean, you're a photographer. I think that's a big part of anybody having their picture taken. It's probably even a little bit more extreme when you're dealing with somebody with a disability.
Right. And the comfort level, like working with people, is tough. So any added challenge to that just makes it harder. But if you have like a passion for what you do, and like the cause that she's going for is huge, and it also impacts her life, it impacts these families' lives. So like be pretty easy to like work through that. Especially like, I don't even know, the interactions, like where her son has autism, so like she has an idea on like how to interact with him
Yep.
and make them feel comfortable, which is ultimately like the most important part when you're trying to take a picture of anybody, is they have to be comfortable with it, or else it's going to show through.
I think you can see the difference in some photographs. Obviously I've framed a ton, and you're an expert in the field of photography. When you see some photographs, like the ones that she took, the people all look comfortable. They look happy to be there. I've seen photographs where it's like, everyone's got the white sweater on and the blue
Right.
jeans, and you can see a couple people are happy to be there, and then you see someone over on the side, and
It's usually the 14-year-old.
you can tell that they weren't really keen on the idea, but we're doing this for somebody, so we're gonna get it done.
Right, you're doing it for somebody, and it's usually like they're like, oh well, like we'll like suck it up and get this picture taken to make the family happy or whatever.
Yep.
And they're just like usually like when it comes to teenagers and family shoots, they're usually at a point where they don't understand the importance of family.
Yep.
Like
It's a good outlook on it.
but
you figured this out. You've thought about this before?
but like as you get older, it's like, oh, like it'd actually be nice to have a picture with my mom, or like, especially like the older you get, like grandparents go away, and then oh, like your parents are getting older, and like
Yep.
like as you get older, you lose people, and it's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to have something to remember them by.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I haven't delved into thinking about it like that, but clearly you have.
You just notice it, like, as you get older. Like, I have, I'd be a lot more keen to, like, have my picture taken with my family now than I would have been at 15 or 17. Sitting there rolling my eyes going, this is stupid. I'm going to go home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess maybe a good photographer is making that clear to the people, and
At least the best you can.
yep.
Or like, if there's kids involved, whether they're young to 17 and they're not really into it, you just make it as quick and painless as you can.
Yep.
Like, come on, give me like 2 good pictures. That's all I need. Then you're free. You can do whatever you want. And it doesn't have to be like a cheek stapled to the side of your ears forced smile. I'd rather have people look natural than forcing a smile.
Yeah. You doing a lot of photography work still?
As much as I can.
Yep.
I did a ton last year. I don't have a whole lot booked this year because I didn't try. I didn't market a lot of stuff, which I should do.
Yeah. Well, people can find you pretty easy, right?
Yep.
Do they realize that when they walk into the store?
Or? I book most of the stuff I do through my shop.
Yep.
So when I have a terrible website that I need to fix and stuff, it makes it easier to have a place where you can go, oh, come in and I can like show you what I do.
Yeah. Well, I know I want to have you up here to shoot some pictures of, I want to have you here to shoot some pictures of the store, get your perspective on things because I really like them. Maybe redo a couple headshots for some employees.
I'm down.
I also want to, clean up some stuff at your place, get a better, we've discussed a couple hanging some stuff out in the front room. I think maybe
I know we need to do that.
Maybe we'll prioritize that because I think that if you had some of that stuff, like when people walk in, like, Sean got, wedding photography,
Right, and I should probably
portraits.
Actually put like some signs up too over some of that where it's like, oh, this is what I do. Versus like, oh, these are just really nice pictures.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people that walk into your shop, maybe they think you just own a photo lab, right? They don't realize that you're a photographer.
Right.
I mean, Tara's works there, right?
Tara takes no pictures.
Yeah, but I mean, so people are justified in thinking that somebody that owns a photo lab might not be a photographer. So, or they might just think those are pictures you've developed that somebody else did. They don't realize that they're all your shots.
Mm-hmm. Right, and like I am fortunate enough to have a place where I can hang all my own work, and I don't market it enough.
Yeah, well,
I definitely don't.
I mean, maybe it's just a simple sign that says "Photos by Sean," right? Or yeah. Goss Photo is also a good name too. Sounds legit. Yeah,
it's very simple. Who am I and what do I do? There you go. That's it.
What's that like owning the lab? You still?
It's busy.
Yeah.
Mainly, like a lot of the photo labs they weren't always owned by old people because those old people were young once.
Yep.
But they're all retiring now, so like I just keep getting busier and busier. Mm-hmm. I think we're one of the only or one of the 2 on the South Shore that actually develop film still, without having to send it away.
Yep.
We do in-house video conversion, we do photo restorations, we do fine art printing. So we really offer like a full barrage of stuff for anything after the photo's been taken. Mm-hmm. And depending on what it is, and if it's something that I would do, I could even take the photo for you.
Are you renting out the space and the studio space too, or is that
not currently?
Yep.
Eventually, I probably will start. I have to get it into a more commercially friendly, like layout. Just because right now it's like too much liability to rent it out to people. I don't know whether it's like, like equipment that could get broken, or, I don't have the proper strap holding X, Y, and Z down. So if someone knocks it over, like then they're responsible for it. Like I need to get that sort of stuff sort of squared away.
I mean, it's a great space back there.
It is. It's a little warm in the summer, but
Is it? Yeah.
but it's not bad.
Cool. And then what, back on the show that's currently up here that Caitlin did, when you see that collection of images, I was telling her that I thought the next step for her is like to continue shooting those things, but like translating it into a book, maybe at some point I thought would be a cool idea.
It could be. She would need more.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Depending on what kind of book you want to do, whether you want to do a coffee table book or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the images she has are super nice, and they would definitely like fit in some sort of presentation that's all bound together.
yeah, I feel like, I obviously you have a lot of experience with the books. I mean, working with Bill, I don't know when your own book's coming out. I think that's definitely something you should do at some point.
I'll make a coffee table book.
Yeah, about
I'll come
coffee
up with
tables.
something. Yep.
Yeah, no, I had talked to Bill and asked him to come look at it too. I thought that Caitlin should, try to connect with him or you about that idea of, what to do. What's the next step of collecting images?
Yep, you get a good selection of photos down. You'd want a good writer. And you don't have to have an entire story on every person, but just like with like the people that she has, or like the books that Bill does, it's usually like a paragraph or two about each person.
Mm-hmm.
Accomplishments or struggles or whatever it may be. And then you can lay it out with, like photo and a little blurb about them.
Yep.
If you're trying to raise awareness to something, like right now Bill's working on a book about veterans.
Yep. I think that's
and
awesome.
appreciating veterans. He's done like the Boston Irish culture, stuff like that.
Yeah, he's teamed up with, how many books has he done with Carrie?
One
Just
with
the one?
Carrie, and the new book we're coming out with is his 7th book. I think it's 7.
Yeah.
I've worked on 3 of them, and then now this one.
Yep. Did you work on the one with Carrie? Or?
No, that one came out right before I started working with Bill.
Okay. Because I know you do a lot of work for her as well.
Yep, I do a lot of work for Carrie too. The inspirational women's book is it's all Boston women who have been inspirational in one way or another, whether it's politically, sports, socially, economically.
And that's Bill Brett, but and he was at the Globe.
46 years I've been at the Globe.
Is he still at the Globe? Is he still considered?
No, he was doing freelance work for the last couple of years, and I think around 2020 he stopped doing freelance work for them. When the Globe like shut down the main office in Boston and moved to Needham or wherever they went.
Yep.
But he still runs BillBrettBoston.com, which is like his like blog site where he still goes out and does all the parties that he did with the club. So.
Yeah, I saw you working on the firefighter picture.
Oh, the firefighter picture. But so I do a lot of his retouching and cataloging and storing all of his images and things like that.
Yeah, and then helping him with the social media stuff as well? Or?
Yep, as much as I can, because I'm not great with social media myself. So, but between me, him, and Carol Beggy, we get it done.
Yeah.
And Carol's a Spitfire, so if you have to get it done, or else she'll be calling you in a second. So.
Yeah, I like his books. I want to grab a couple of those, and I'd love to have conversations with him whenever I talk to him over at your place. I mean, he can.
You want books for sale? I got a bunch of them. I can bring you a case.
Oh, I mean, maybe I'll take one of each. Yeah, I think that would be. I mean, I like flipping through them whenever I'm over at your place, so I might as well add a couple to my collection.
It's good imagery, and like the environmental portraiture he does is really nice, and it puts people in their element, which again is what Caitlin does here with the pictures.
Well, that's really nice. Why immediately when I saw them as a group, and we talked about the idea. I thought that it would be a good fit. Like I don't know. I mean, I see those all together, and I'm like, well, I've seen Bill's books of collections of Boston Irish, or just people in the that are like important power players of the area, and then it just seems like a similar fit. Kind of like the veterans one too. Like,
Right. Yeah, it has like a similar vibe to it anyway.
Yeah.
The like premise and the concept are all sort of very intertwined
yeah.
and would lay out very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you should do a portrait series as well. I mean, these things are.
I got a few. I need more. I need more people.
Yeah, that one is what's the title on this one? Or
I don't title.
You don't
anything.
title anything? No.
This is Kay. She's awesome.
Yeah, that was from the collection that was here.
Yep.
You got the the one I took home.
Yep. And this is all like a portrait series that I was working on and still am. I mean, it's one that'll probably like never be finished.
Yep.
And not everybody needs their face painted.
That's not part of the requirement.
No, that was just an idea we had. Mm-hmm. But they're all shot with a Cadet 4x5 with like a Schneider lens, and it's all film. And the nice part about like shooting with like the large format film is, one, the detail you get is insane.
Yep.
But it takes time. So like it's 4x5 film is all like time and money is
Yep.
really what it comes down to. Like each picture, like the film itself is, $8 a sheet of film, and then or $5 somewhere in there, and then like if I didn't own a lab, the cost to develop it,
Yeah.
it's like each picture is, let's say, like $15 to $20.
Yep.
So you really take your time to like make sure you get it right, and that's where like the comfort level between you and the person you're working with
It's important. Yeah.
but they also have to be very still, so it sort of like pulls out like an energy usually from people, because it's not like a grip and grin smile. It's not like, oh, look this way.
Yep. Yeah, and I thought that series was awesome when it was here.
Yeah, and it's one I still want to keep doing.
Yeah. How many do you have in that series right now?
Probably like 15.
15.
15 that I like anyway.
What would the book be on that one? Just portraits, or
Like faces or something.
Yeah.
Because they're all
they're all close-ups of
like chest up headshots.
Yeah, this one's super interesting too. Is that a tattoo, or is that a?
That's
did you
her
guys write
tattoo.
that on?
Yeah, no, that's a tattoo that she has.
And how do you find all the people that you've done these portraits on? Are they just people you know, or are they
Either people I know or like
people you
if
think are interesting looking?
I've had people hire me for shoots, and it's like, oh, well, like while we're doing this, I'm gonna do like one of these.
And they're usually
cool with it.
yeah.
Some people think it's fun, or they get, because afterwards they get a copy of the image anyway.
Yeah.
So everybody's usually pretty psyched about it. I've only had a couple where it was like, oh, these didn't come out at all.
Yeah.
But at least they were people I know, so I can always try again.
Try again. Yeah. I mean, do you see something when you see a person, like this one and the other one, you kind of have a vision that, or wow, this is kind of a interesting looking person, or this is,
It's all in the eyes. Like if
Yep.
they have,
well, that's why I love that one. That's why I wanted that one. Just the eyes. It reminds me of that shot, that National Geographic shot.
Yeah.
With what's that? Which picture I'm talking about.
The girl with green eyes.
Yeah.
Steve McCurry.
Yeah. I mean, that one is, it's the eyes, right?
Yep, it's all in the eyes, and like when someone has to like stare at you or like keep their eyes open for a while, it like brings out like a sense of emotion, even if like you're not necessarily like trying to convey something. And depending on the person, a lot of people, it looks like they get like a emotion of like power or like something like that. Especially if you're there talking them up while they do it.
Yep.
there's very rarely do I get one where people look like sad or hurt or like.
Well, is that a good thing too, right? In
Yeah.
some of in
Depending on the image, absolutely.
yeah.
But it's usually like when I find somebody, it's whether or not they have like not necessarily like the look, because like I'll photograph anybody. It doesn't really need to be a look,
Yep.
but they have to have like that sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, like an ambiance or like
Yep.
something about them like makes it like, oh, like this would like fit in here really
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. Well, so if people are getting their pictures taken by, they might end up in a book.
Yeah. Why not?
I think I think that the portrait series was awesome, and I definitely would love to see more of them.
And it looks good altogether too, which is what's nice.
Yeah, and you think that the fact that they're shot with the same the same type of camera on film, that somebody that doesn't know like myself, does that make them all tie together and like seem the same?
Somewhat. I think a lot of it has to do with the time it takes to capture it. I think is what gives it that like aesthetic more than anything else.
Yep. So it's the results you get from using the equipment more
Right.
so than the actual feel from the equipment.
Yeah, because when you edit stuff, like whether it's digital or film, like film does have a look to it, but with like the right editing and patience, you can make a digital photo look that way too.
Yep.
Especially when you're talking like some of the new stuff with like insane resolutions that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's way over my head, and hopefully we'll, when you're back the next time, maybe you can explain to me what these crazy cameras, that crazy camera collection you have, what the difference is. Someone was explaining to me, that all of a sudden, there's two different brands of cameras, so maybe we'll cover that sort of thing the next time you come in. I'm hoping that we can get you as a regular, recurring guest.
I'm not far away.
I obviously the relationship between Frame Center and Goss Photo is, I think, a good one.
Absolutely.
I hope I provide some value to you, because I know that you provide a ton of value to me, and I love talking with you, getting your thoughts on this show. Even just like when I stop by the store to pick something up and I see an interesting photograph, understanding what you think about it, is, I think, cool. You're my go-to guy, because I think you're more than a photographer. You're clearly an artist as well.
Yep, and
you got a cool sense.
I mean that's what's fun about it is like I don't look at photography as strictly photography. So, it's all artwork, and the end result that you get is really what's important, because that's what's going to be displayed no matter how you get there.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that's Sean Goss, episode 1. And hopefully there'll be, like I said, a recurring one. I'd love to, whenever there's a show up here, I like getting your thoughts on it, especially if photography is involved. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
cool. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.